The Smiling Human podcast is made possible by listeners like you. If you would like to experience more of these shows into the future, then please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/thesmilinghuman. Hello, and welcome to The Smiling Human, where collectively we evolve through inquiry. Hello, and welcome back to the Smiling Human podcast and another episode of Oak's Hour. I'm choosing to do something different for this installment. Typically, I would be offering a synergistic summary of the last few episodes, and the stats have shown that most of you enjoy these types of episodes as they perform best, on average, out of any of the shows that I do. What I want to offer here first is a sincere thank you for that, for everyone who tunes in again and again to receive my thoughts and musings. So what exactly makes this episode different? Well, instead of working with the topics and themes from the previous episodes, I'll be speaking to you about the Smiling Human podcast as a whole, where I am as a creator, as an entrepreneur, and what the road ahead might look like. And also, hopefully, how you might play a greater part in its flourishing. So, with that being said, let's dive in. Where am I speaking to you from right now? Literally, I'm speaking to you from my office here in Calgary, Canada. And emotionally, personally, I'm at a powerful point of reflection and transformation. As I'm writing this and speaking it to you, it is the 1-year anniversary of the first ever podcast recording I made. This was with my longtime friend, Dolphin Casper. A year ago, I had no idea how to run a podcast, how to edit an episode, make social media content, or anything else, really. I learned much of this under the tutelage of Kim Hayden. So thank you, Kim. And what she could not teach me, I went out and learned on my own. For a year now, I have finally stabilized systems, structures, and routines that I've been able to put in place to make this show flow more smoothly. I started this podcast because I believed in the transformative power of dialogue. And I don't mean chit-chat, talk show, dialogue, or spilling the tea. I mean present, conscious, and emergent dialogos. I mean a container where two hearts and minds meet in good faith for the goal of personal growth, learning, and hopefully entertainment. I still believe in this vision and this goal, although in full transparency, sometimes I do feel like I'm speaking to the void. Being a content creator means pouring my time and energy into projects that I believe in. It means putting pieces of my heart and mind out into the world for others to see, and in this case, doing so in the spirit of service. So how can I tell if it's working? Well, that's where you come in, the listener, the audience, the viewer on YouTube. You determine if I hit the mark because in large part, it's for you that I create. So why do I feel like I'm shouting into the void? Because in the last 8 months of posting podcasts weekly and social media content daily, I've received very little feedback. For those of you who have commented, I want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, as it really does make a difference for me. What I have beyond those few comments are kind of really only my metrics and analytics. This means I know you're listening. But I want more than that. I want to know what you think and what you feel about these shows. Without this feedback, I find myself exploring other projects, evolving my offerings, and broadening my field of exploration. As many of you already know, I've shifted back into men's work, and as a result, I hosted a 5-day online Mythic Masculinity Summit in April of 2025. This summit would not have been possible without this show, because I met most of the guests for that summit by having them as guests on this show. But the summit showed me something. It brought clarity to the very real crossroads that I find myself at today. It showed me that my men's work offerings are needed. The summit received great feedback and a ton of attention, and that attention has stayed pretty steady ever since. Much more attention than any episode or previous business venture I ever have engaged with got. When people flock to an idea and they ask for more, that's a green light from the universe. It's a signal of alignment, especially when that idea comes from an authentic intention to do good. That's how I interpreted the attention and success that No More Heroes Summit received. And as a result, I've doubled down. I turned more deeply towards the mythic, the archetypal and depth work. And in so doing, I've been met with great clarity. And this brings me to my second point of inquiry for our show today. What has this path revealed so far? Do you want to know what I've learned from nearly 40 podcast episodes over the last year? 1. Humans are incredibly interesting, varied, and precious. There are no two people in this world with identical experiences. 2. Listening is supremely enjoyable when you trust that the other person has something of value to say. And 3, this one's personal. My voice matters more than I thought. I've been blessed enough to receive sincere, heartfelt, and validating feedback from many of my guests who I admire greatly. And this has fed my confidence and willingness to offer more of myself into the world. Oh, and a fourth thing, podcasting is a lot of work. So if that's what I've learned from doing the show, what have I learned from leaning into this mythic way of living and thinking? When I finally accepted that myth was an inseparable and inescapable part of the human experience, I felt that I finally had a companion on my life's journey. Recognizing and accepting myth meant that there are very real patterns and stages happening in life, structures that I can work with to make myself and the world all that much better. Not only can I get a grip or a leg up in my day-to-day, but it turns out that there's a solid ladder that predates any author I've ever read, and it's baked into my DNA. This means that I have greater power and influence over my life, more than I once thought. And I can do, and in fact have done, more than I ever believed I really could. I am the main character, if you will, or the pilot of my life story. And knowing this, alongside knowing the building blocks of narrative and myth, means that I've been able to rewrite the next chapters of my life for myself. This podcast and the Men's Summit have shown me that I can make a meaningful difference in the world, and that when I set my sights on a worthwhile goal, in the intention of service, that it will be supported. I can support others through conversation. I can help to address the men's mental health crisis. I can and will do that which is within my power to make the world a brighter place. And I'm doing that by owning my shit. The only way that any of us can make this world a better place is if we commit to owning our shit. We need to own the foibles, own the failures, own the pain, and own the cowardice, the fear, and the shame. Scoop it all up and bring it home. Or it's going to start to leak out and infect our core to the point where we become ineffective in the present moment because we've become frozen in the past. I want to reiterate that this vitalization and growth that has come for me would mean nothing without you. When you choose to tune in, to think and to reflect and to put into practice the idea that I've explored with brilliant guests on this show, you're turning my intention into a reality. By choosing to do something for yourself, you're making my vision of a better world possible. And for that, I cannot thank you enough. So, what's burning for me now? For the Smiling Human and for these other projects, and what wants to come through? It's clear to me now, more than ever, just how necessary community is for any goal or vision. Making the show can be a lot of fun, and I want to continue. If, and I mean if, you will keep listening. So let me know, what topics or guests do you want me most to showcase? I ask because what's burning for me now is an even stronger fire for truth and for evolution. I've tasted expansive and enriching conversations time and time again, and I want more. The more might look similar to how it's been as the Smiling Human podcast, and given my most recent expansion into Mythic men's workspace, it might shift. Maybe a new title, a new direction, who's to say? It's clear that the more of what lights up my heart and that which serves others is what needs to come through. My heart lights up for the mythic, the philosophical, the meaning-rich, and the deeply relevant topics that are shaping our world. And I'm committed to investing my skills towards ends that make this world a better place. But as I've come to realize, I don't always have the right idea for how to do that. When looking over the numbers, 80% of my viewers on YouTube are men between 18 and 40. Good day to all of you gentlemen. Knowing this, it's no surprise that the men's work content has gone over so well. However, I notice an honest and persistent hesitancy to dedicate this show and my time to that topic exclusively. And this hesitancy comes out of a fear of isolating some of my existing audience. So, for the sisters among my listeners, I'm speaking to you now. What do you think of this show focusing more on myth and masculine maturation? Are you interested, or are there other types of content and topics that would call to you more? Let me know in a comment, a DM on Instagram, or through the contact form in the links below. My highest aim is to walk the line of what speaks most to you, brothers and sisters, and that which intrigues me most at my core. This is a delicate balance, and I feel that following either more than the other is sure to lead me astray, and so I call to you to help me strike this balance. If left to my own devices, I would surely end up speaking on topics so niched that they would be interesting only to a select few, and I'm sure that this would do less good than it otherwise could. This show is not an exercise in personal gratification, but a mission of service, education, and, hopefully, entertainment, and frankly, I intend to keep it that way, which leads me to my next question. What is being offered now? And maybe I can offer you a glimpse of what's to come in the future. At present, you can engage with my content, this podcast and its related clips and previews on YouTube, Instagram, and all podcast platforms. I've also recently started posting snippets from recent episodes throughout the week. They're somewhere between 2 to 8 minutes, and they're on my YouTube channel. These are highlights, the golden nuggets of the conversation that I clip for visibility and accessibility. My insight and mindfulness counseling under the Smiling Human banner is also still available, although at the time of recording, I have only 2 spots for new clients available. This counseling offers a combination of my learning in Eastern and Western worldviews to support others in aligning their habits and relationships to their core values in order to live with greater consciousness and contentment. More recently, I've opened the doors to the Beyond the Hero Mythic Initiation Journey for men. This is a 12-week guided mentorship journey that brings men into and through their underworld so that they may collect their rightful gold and re-emerge onto the living throne of their life. It's mythic, potent, intensive, and expansive, and I've been so inspired by the potency of the transformation that I've had the privilege to witness thus far. You can apply for this container and the one mentioned before in the links below. On the horizon is a group format for this journey, launching sometime in the summer of 2025. There is currently a waitlist for this group journey, so you can add your name to that waitlist at the link in the description. The links for everything and anything that I mention in this video will show up in the show notes and the video description, so head there after to find what you're looking for. I should also say, and this might come as a surprise, but I do exist outside of the internet. I have been facilitating in-person workshops across North America for many years, and I continue to do so. I've hosted men's breathwork events, mythic masculine personality development rituals, co-ed forgiveness ceremonies, meditation and philosophy classes, and a ton more. Over the summer of 2025, I'll also be facilitating at least one festival. This is Reclaiming Evolution. As mentioned, info for all of these is going to be in the notes of the description and the show notes, so go ahead and check that out. Lastly, I also have free resources that I offer as a way to give back to the community. For the journalers among the audience, I've crafted a month-long insight journal, which is an introspective journey into inner clarity. Yours, totally free. It's a PDF. You can download it. And for those listening who might be more interested in the Mythic Masculinity side of things, the No More Heroes Mythic Masculinity Summit is actually free to watch. It features 12 speakers and 10 hours of content over 5 days. You can sign up and get a week of free access to further your own journey of mythic masculine development. By the time this airs, there'll likely be other free replays for my upcoming workshop series on the elements of mythic masculine maturation. The first of which happened just yesterday in terms of recording, and it was called The Alchemy of the Wound, Transforming the Masculine Shadow. Access to that will be available below. Lastly, if any of what I've addressed in this episode or others has spoken to your heart and you feel a call to dive more deeply into your journey, I'm opening the doors to the listeners of the Smiling Human podcast for a free one-on-one session with me, be it about mythic men's work or for the insight and mindfulness counseling. Now, before you even think it, I'm sure you're tired of being sold by coaches and their free sessions. Me too. That's why I've taken a different approach, one that honors the core intention of my work. All of my free sessions are treated as an opportunity to be of service to the soul that's in front of me, something that I hold as a sacred privilege. Does this sometimes lead to enrollment in my services? Absolutely, but that's not the goal. My goal is for you to leave with insight and hope for your future. So to close then, I want to let you in on a question that I had to ask myself while writing for this episode. And the question was, what do I want to ask of my listeners? This question brought me immediate tension. How many people or creators that we see are constantly asking something of us? Our time, our likes, our subscriptions, our contributions. It wears me out, as I imagine it also wears you out. And yet, as a creator, I have to ask, because without you and your engaged presence in this community, my work falls flat. So what am I asking for? First and foremost, I'm asking for your feedback. Please comment on this video, rate the show in your podcast app, send me a DM on Instagram, or reach out via email. Offer me your honest thoughts about the show so far. What have you liked? Where do you want to see it go? What improvements might I make for you, the listener? Secondly, this show has been and will always be free. Yet it's not free to make. It costs around $1,000 a year on the low end to keep it running, and that does not include the 5 to 7 hours of my time that goes into making each and every episode. At present, I am doing all of this work solo in addition to my other businesses and responsibilities, and I have loved it so far. And it's also nearing the point of becoming unsustainable. So I will ask and invite you, if it is within your means, to become a patron on the Patreon. If only 11 of you signed up at the $10 a month tier for a year, it would guarantee that I could do this show for another 12 months. Anything above and beyond that opens the door to more guests, better production equipment, hiring an editor, special on-the-road episodes with guests across North America, and much more. So if this show has meant something to you, if it means something to you, and you can help keep it alive, I ask that you consider to become a patron. Lastly, I will ask that you do the things that please the algorithm. Hit follow, hit subscribe, shoot a comment, like this episode, and share one of our previous episodes with a friend or two. All of that goes a lot farther than you might imagine. So let's keep this wheel turning so that I can continue to make this podcast that we both love for a community of smiling humans. Thank you as always for your time and attention. Be well. And that concludes this episode of the Smiling Human podcast. Thank you so much for listening. But before you go, I have 2 invitations for you. The first invitation is to receive a free gift. I've created a free insight journal. This is a 30-day self-reflection and introspection journal that you can download at no cost in the description below. Go have a look and join the journey. The second invitation I have for you is, if it feels within your means and possible for you, then please head over to patreon.com/thesmilinghuman. Becoming a patron will give you access to perks like behind-the-scenes footage and access to live Q&As with me monthly. You also get voting privileges to help pick new guests or to help guide other episode content. Truly, the support of listeners like you, paid or unpaid, goes a long way. So if you could like, share, subscribe, and give a rating on the podcast app, all of that goes a long way. Thank you to each and every one of you who's been on this journey with me. See you again soon.